Hello, it's Dawn. Welcome. And today I'm here to talk to you about some astrology and what this eclipse in Virgo is going to be kicking off for us for the next 6 months. It's really fascinating to me that we are going to be in a quantum time, and it's very much going on to brand new things. And a lot of what is going on in this eclipse is telling us that there are big changes ahead, and it's not going to be anything that we expect. Everything's going to be throwing us slightly off kilter. So I feel like we're on a ride at an amusement park, and pick your ride because it's going to be something that I call it the quantum ride. It's like the quantum roller coaster. It's one of those things where um, you're not going to know what to expect, but you can enjoy the ride or you can be hating it. So make your choices, and let's see what this energy has to bring forward for us. I'm so fascinated by everything that's going on with this. So let's go and make this a little bigger, and so that I can see you and you can see me. Perfect. Okay. So what I wanted to point out right away is, of course, we have this at 29 degrees. We had a new moon in Virgo, so two new moons. This would be considered the black moon, where they call it a blue moon when it's a full moon in the same sign twice in a row. That happened last year, was it, when we had the Capricorn full moon twice, and that was the unexpected time of the attempted assassination of President Trump and the step down by President Biden of his campaign. So that is the kind of out of the park strangeness and unknown that's going to be going on. And we have to learn to step back and be observers of what's going on, because this is quantum. This is meant to change. This has been the lineup for eons, that this was going to happen, that things were going to change. So this 29 degree, the two new moons. So remember how it was like with the two full moons in Capricorn, when we had the definite once in a blue moon energy back then? This is called a black moon. So I want you to realize that energy. It's, again, something that doesn't happen very often. And we have it at 29 degrees. Okay. The other thing that's happening with this 29-degree new moon solar eclipse is that it's exactly opposite to Saturn and Neptune, which is interesting because they're in different signs, so they have a different flavor. But if you're familiar of what they call the midpoint, sometimes the midpoint between planets is where you really get the feeling of what the symbolism of those two combined is how I will say that. And Saturn is going to be at 28 degrees, and Neptune is at 0. Neptune will be at 0 degrees of Aries until October 22nd. Now, we have a lot of things going on with that end of October date. So hopefully we'll get a chance to touch on that later. But the midpoint between Saturn and Neptune is 29 degrees of Pisces, the very last degree of the zodiac. We are moving into a completely different timeline, a completely quantum sense of timeline. And what I feel with that, and people are worried about it. I'm actually not concerned. I'm actually very excited. Do I think there's going to be chaos in the world? Yes. Do I think that we're going to have issues with money? Yes. Do I think we're going to have issues where, we're concerned about wars and things breaking out? Okay. But there's been a war someplace in the world in the past, I don't know, thousand years, that there's always a skirmish and a fight. the energies of skirmishes are built into this energy that we're currently going to be having for the next couple of years, and especially the next 6 months. This is the kickoff to some very, I would say, groundbreaking energy that's coming forward. So with this being at 29 degrees, that is the very last degree again of the zodiac. So we are ending this timeline. This is an ending for this timeline. I want to also take a look at what other things are at 29 degrees. That would be Mars in Libra, right here, right next door to this 29 degrees. Now, anything that you have at 29 degrees in your chart is going to really feel this energy. And anything that for the eclipse is 5 degrees into Libra, or 5 degrees back into Virgo, that is the sweet spot for anything that is going to be in that conjunction, in that opposition. I'm talking about your personal planets. Anything that's going to be here in this area of the chart. So Gemini from 25 to Cancer 5. And also this energy of Sag into Capricorn, 25 to 5, right here. So those are the areas that we're talking about in the chart. I happen to have a 25-degree Cancer sun. And for me, that's very much going to be the energy of having a sextile with the new moon energy. The other really, really crazy thing for me personally, I have been feeling this since last Wednesday, because I have my black moon Lilith at 29 degrees. Unbeknownst to me, I knew that I have an asteroid called Dawn, and I've always identified very, very, very strongly with my name. And I keep getting downloads and this stuff like, yeah, definitely, your name is Dawn, your name is Dawn, your name is Dawn. So I actually look at that asteroid on in other people's charts when I read their charts, and also for other things for me. And so not only is that 29-degree solar eclipse on my natal black moon Lilith, but my personal asteroid Dawn is on top of black moon Lilith in Scorpio. And also right next to Hecate, which was my ascendant. My dog is going crazy right now. So those are the things that I want you to look at in your chart, things that are very personal to you, where you can start getting messages and downloads, because we are all getting that now. We are all getting that energy now. And I think that's really important for us to take a look at. So we do have a lot of yads. I think I've talked about that before, definitely with everyone, where you have Mars in a yad pointing at this area of the chart, with Venus at this area of the chart. What I really find interesting here is that for me, there's more than one yad. There's one going up to Venus with Pluto and Saturn. And Pluto and Venus have a very unique, special relationship where it's about power. Sometimes it's power over, but I will say, I know, like in a conjunction, Beyonce has Pluto and Venus 2 degrees apart in her natal chart. So it's not just that, it can be this really amazing chemistry that she has, that, people, how they look at her and how she personally holds herself, right? Her stage presence is that perfection of Venus conjunct Pluto. She's entirely that. So when you're looking at this aspect going on, this is Venus gaining power. This is Venus who has been talking constantly in the charts, especially with Uranus. There is such an interesting dichotomy with Venus and Uranus. And it happened when on the 7-7 portal, where Venus and Uranus were conjunct at the very, very, very last degree of Taurus. and then Venus moved in, and then when Uranus moved in, she was at 2 degrees. This exact same thing, exact degrees, everything is going to be happening in April. So there's a lot of things that are going to be happening with the retrogrades, and that is one of them. And that Venus is saying, Uranus, whatever changes you're bringing to Gemini, divine feminine is going to be a huge part of that. No doubt in my mind. So the other part to this is you have Jupiter here, and Jupiter is actually, it doesn't show this, but Jupiter is actually in a trine to not only Black Moon Lilith, but to Hecate in Scorpio. So what's going to be happening there? We are going to have a very interesting time of, I feel like that Mars going into its own sign the very next day in Libra is really, not the very next day, I'm sorry, when the Libra equinox happens. I'm correcting myself at the right time so I don't get this wrong. On the day of the equinox, Mars is inside Scorpio. And that's important because there's things coming up with this kind of wonky energy that's there that the collective is really, really supported, but it's very much an energy of, but things are just slightly tilted offward. I felt like, for me, my personal favorite ride is like the tilt-a-whirl, and I kind of felt like I'm going to be on the tilt-a-whirl, not only, combination of the tilt-a-whirl and the roller coaster somehow. Hey, it's quantum. So what I would say is, if you take a look at the fact that, okay, here you have the sun and here you have the moon right here, 29 degrees. You have Saturn in Pisces, and actually a conjunction still, because they're basically, 2 degrees apart. And this is in Aries. And the other interesting thing is this grand, what I would consider normally a grand trine, but grand trines usually are all in the same element. This isn't. This is Uranus. And really, to be a full grand air trine, it'll be on the day of the equinox, because it'll be the sun at 0 degrees, Pluto in retrograde, it'll be going direct in a couple weeks, and then Uranus, 1 degree. That's a pretty strong air trine, pretty strong planets. But on the eclipse, it's just slightly off. They're not all in the same element. And to me, that's very interesting. So what else do we have going on this day? Venus and Uranus are in a square. Uranus is actually conjunct Sedna, and it's in a square to Venus. Now remember, they were conjunct on 7/7. And well, actually the day before 7/7, I think it was like 7/5 or 7/6. They were actually conjunct, and then she moved into Gemini, and then he came in on 7/7. But 2 degrees. So they are strongly talking to each other this entire time. And he's going to be going back into her sign, Taurus. And to me, it's like, here's this boyfriend that was living at Venus's house, and he finally leaves, but then he decides to come back in and, trying to get together one last time, but he messes up her bank account basically, and then leaves. So I think to me, it's a money thing. There's going to be weird issues with money and jobs, and it's not unexpected with the jobs because that's AI. But this is my deeper dive on this. So I'm watching Venus for this next year, all the way through to the April 25th, when they actually have their conjunction again. So we have all this just crazy energy. And don't forget, these two planets down here have been playing a really interesting game of, they've been in conjunction for months. and they've not perfected the conjunction, nor will they until February 20th of 2026. But they've been playing off of each other. And I heard someone expressing things this way. Saturn is going back, and you're going to need to be asking yourself, is what I'm doing spiritual? Am I following the path that I should be following? Saturn's going to be opposite energy in the late degrees of Virgo. So I think that's one of the things that we look at. Plus, I want to point out right now, we have the node at 18 degrees of Pisces, 18 degrees. Whenever we have eclipses, the nodes stop moving for like at least 6 weeks, right? So roughly 4 to 6 weeks. I'll give it a little bit of a more defined window. 4 to 6 weeks. They don't move. They don't move. And the last time we had the eclipse season, it was 28 degrees where they stopped. So that is a very highly potent, energized area. And the very first eclipse we had in this particular axis of Pisces and Virgo was at 25 degrees of Pisces. So what do you have at 25 degrees anywhere in your chart? Because that's where Saturn is going to station. And oddly enough, that's also where Jupiter will station at 25 degrees. Actually, they both are stationing at 2509. Jupiter will be at 2509 of Cancer before it goes back retrograde to 15 degrees. And Saturn and Pisces will go back to 2509 and then station and then move direct and leave Pisces for the last time. So it won't leave Pisces again for 29 years after this. But the last time that we had a Saturn retrograde into Pisces was like in 1937 or 1939, that energy. So I'm anticipating high world events because this area right here at the beginning of Aries, the beginning of the entire zodiac, and that's the degree where Neptune and Saturn are conjunct in February. It's a whole new paradigm shift. Anyone that tells you that they know exactly what's going to happen, or we just don't. We also have other things that are visiting and this is kind of what I think is funny about this whole thing, that this visitor that we have that is from outside the solar system is, and it's Atlas. We don't know exactly what it is. And do I think it's something that I'm concerned about? No, not really. I think that it's meant to be there. There's also another, they can't classify it as a comet, but we don't know what it is, which is kind of like this energy of what's coming up for us. We don't know what it is. So to me, that's very symbolic of what's kind of going on. Like it has different sets of rules because it's a quantum thing and we have no idea how to categorize it, right? We do have another thing coming in, and it is actually a comet. There's a comet out there. So we're having, during the time of this eclipse, we're having this one thing show up that we don't know what it is, but it's very quantum, and I don't think we have a good basis of understanding in our capability right now of what it really can do or not do. And then we have a comet who's acting like a comet and behaving like a comet. But it is really showing up during the time of this amazing eclipse energy. I do want to give a shout out because I did listen to something that the Leo King said that I really felt is very, very true. Mars has been in Libra, and it will be at 29 degrees of this. And it's like Mars, of course, being kind of can be argumentative, and but it's also, to me, saying that it's trying to justify his actions. Someone trying to justify their behavior. someone trying to justify their actions. And if someone ever says to you, well, I behave that way because of what you did, that's just Mars trying to justify his actions. And that is completely BS, because each person is responsible for their own actions, always. That person is just trying to justify their behavior. That's very narcissist, by the way, that, well, I felt that you weren't treating me right, so I did this to you. Or, um, well, work was treating me badly, so I decided to do something bad, but I'm justifying my actions because it's their fault. So that's one of the things you have to watch out for. And Mars is going to be going on the Libra equinox. Mars is going to be going into Scorpio. And it will be in a square with Pluto. Right now, it's even in a square with Pluto because it's only a couple degrees off of what the orb would be, right? So instead of being at 29, and then you have the Pluto here at 129, it's going to go back a hair further. I don't think very far, but it's interesting. That's 29 and 29. That's funny. Oh, now I'm gonna have to do a deep dive later and find out if it goes any lower than that. That's funny. Okay, you can't make this up. So what happens then is Mars goes in to Scorpio and will be in Scorpio when the sun moves into the equinox. Then it will be in a square with Pluto. Mars in a square with Pluto. Now, Mars is the original ruler of Scorpio. And Pluto is the modern day ruler, but it's just like Mars is there and it's squaring off to Pluto, who would rather be in Scorpio. And it's saying, hey, I was here first before you were even thought of. And I'm ruling this right now. I'm in charge here. This is where I'm in charge. And I love that Hecate is here and in a trine really to Jupiter, because we can really make some great decisions and great choices here. We do have to let go of the old paradigm, right? It's like when you're on the roller coaster and they do the loop-de-loop, and then you're like, what do people do? They put their hands up in the air. They've got their hands up in the air. They've let go of the rails, and they've got their hands up like this. That's an interesting thought, right? It's an interesting way to view that energy. And I think that to me, it's very empowering. Let go of what you thought you should do. This is Virgo. What were your preconceived ideas? There's a lot of people that have Pluto and Virgo in their natal charts. I'm one of them. And it ranges from like 1956 to like 1972. But even the people that have Pluto in Libra experience these situations, especially women who were like, okay, you have to wear nylons underneath your slacks. You have to have your skirt only a certain length. You have to wear a blouse a certain way, no tank tops, no this, no that. You can wear a dress, but it has to meet the standards that we think are acceptable. But if you're in the upper levels of business, you better be wearing a business suit. So many people that were part of that corporation system back then and climbing the ladder and being very successful at it, there were certain things that were expected. And we are going to be moving out of a lot of these so-called rules, you know, release the minutia, release the stress, throw your hands up in the air and enjoy the ride, because the ride is going to happen. No one is getting off the ride. No one gets off this ride. The ride will happen. And again, you can be white knuckling it through and stressing yourself out, or you can just enjoy it with abandon and really say, okay, I know that this is a complete change. It is a complete change. And when I get off this ride, I might feel a bit wobbly and kind of unsure of my footing, right? But it's like taking baby steps and learning something all over again. And it's like, okay, wow, that was crazy. Don't know if I want to go through that again, but it was pretty exciting. It was pretty different. I think the best thing that we can do is really focus in on that spiritual sense of Saturn and Neptune. And you're going to have Neptune moving back to 29 degrees. So it's going to be highlighting anything hitting 29 degrees again. It's going to be at 29 degrees. And don't forget, Neptune is the modern day ruler of Pisces. And it's helping Saturn out. They are here together and have been together for months and months and months for a reason, because they're part of the big change. Neptune can dream it and Saturn can make it happen. But we have all these retrogrades coming up. So there is going to be a lot of breakdown, and you are going to be continually asked, is this really important for you? Is this minute little detail thing? Do you need to keep, the second and third set of dishes that you never use? Do you need to keep all these clothes that you've grown out of? What are your plans? I don't think you can make any really, really solid plans. I think right now it's about seeing what happens and accepting, because every time we're going to try and make a plan, you have this Uranus that's going to be going back into Taurus and then coming back into Gemini again with Sedna. Sedna has shown up. She has an 11,400 year cycle. And she's shown up very strongly. This is the closest that she comes to the sun. And that actually, in like 2076, is when she actually will be at the closest. And that's when she's in Cancer. The Inuit goddess of the deep, cold ocean, being the closest to the sun when she's in Cancer. Lineage, memories, ancient wisdom coming back. I find all of this so fascinating. It is just beyond fascinating for me. And that's what I want to kind of give to you as far as this energy is going, because people are going to be afraid. They're going to be afraid because it's something different, something that they don't expect what's going on. And I've kind of gotten a download with, why can't you be like your pet? The one that you heard barking around here just a little bit, as he gets fed, he gets watered, and he gets loved on. And that's all he cares about for the day. I get to play. If I go outside and play, that's good. That's a good day too. Run around, enjoy nature. But I got to eat today. I got to have somebody that loves me, and I got to play. And that's good enough. And then my other little rule is, when the whole village eats, it's a good day. First, you have to take care of yourself. But if you've met your needs for the day, then that's when you use the Virgo energy and actually the Aquarian energy of, there is a collective out there and we do our parts. But Aquarius recognizes that we still keep our own individuality and we are not put to shame because we're different. And that's important too. So I hope that this lengthy video on this particular doorway into the quantum is going to help you as you move forward with this energy, because I think it's a fascinating time that we're going through. It is quantum, it is destined, and we're going to create something completely new and different. It won't be based on how things used to be. There are going to be too many changes. Even in the next 2 years, we're going to be doing things a whole lot differently than what we're doing them now. And are there going to be problems? Yes. Are there going to be wars that are fought? Probably. But wouldn't it be great if we finally said, enough? We're going to change how the world is going to look at things from now on, and take better care of her, take better care of Gaia. So thank you for your attention, and I will be seeing you very, very soon. Bye.